Welcome back to the Jank Tank, a show where we explore the clunky games that I adore. Today, we're pulling X2 Wolverine's Revenge out of the tank for another look at a time where licensed games and scamming children were industry staples that nobody cared about.
Chocolate starfish!
Before dropshipping, cryptocurrency, and being yelled at to flip things on eBay, my first time encountering snake oil salespeople was when Activision put Hugh Jackman on a game case and instead gave us Luke Skywalker and Joker as Wolverine. Still an amazing job? He crushes it.
These dog tags, they read Wolverine.
But even Gary Vee can't deny how scummy that is.
Who do you love the most in the world?
My family.
Every day, like literally once a day, genuinely sit there for 5 minutes and make pretend one of them got shot in the face.
Wolverine's Revenge was released on April 14th, 2003 for the Xbox, PS2, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and PC to coincide with the movie X2's release. You play as, well, Wolverine, who has COVID with 2 days to find a cure before he meets his demise.
Ain't that a kick in the head?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it fits in with X2, does it? I always found it strange how this game puts on the front of being a tie-in for the movie, but there's such little overlap between the two. They're separate entities, mainly sharing a single plot point where Wolverine goes back to Alkali Lake in an attempt to learn more about his past, and Patrick Stewart is Charles Xavier.
It's where all the answers are and the most likely place to find an antiviral serum.
Just about everything else has nothing to do with X2, like Super AIDS for example. Wolverine's Revenge is bloated with comic book inspired adventure, some jank, and we run into fan favorite X-Men characters like May Deuce and Dr. Cornelius. I love this game. What can I say about it that hasn't already been said? It was a good idea with poor execution. It is frustrating. I'm gonna shit on it a little, but remember, it comes from a place of love, like when you roast your buddies. So, what kind of game is Wolverine's Revenge? Well, it's all over the place. For one, it's too difficult.
You don't want to draw attention to yourself here, Logan.
The stealth sections suck and largely contribute to this unfair difficulty. Mechanics are too strict with when you're expected to play stealthy and when they want you to rumble. More often than not, you're punished for being loud, yet your stealth rewards are dog tags that unlock strike combos. Good luck not looking up a guide for the forced Sam Fisher sections. It's like the game doesn't even know what it wants to be. Let's call it a beat-em-up stealth hybrid with a few gunner portions sprinkled in there. To use the word strict would be generous. You are truly playing this game by its own rules. There's little room for player expression and error. 90% of the time, levels are completed because you failed enough times to practically have been in the same room as the devs while they designed everything. Players will seldom complete a mission on their first try. That's why you just use cheats. Embrace it. This is the way these kinds of games were meant to be played. You will have so much more fun with invulnerability enabled. Okay, so stealth isn't great. What about the hand-to-hand combat? It's okay, just okay. Rage makes this whole system fall short and adds unnecessary annoyances. If you get hit too many times, Wolverine will go into a manic frenzy and mow fools like grass. Just one problem. Rage will more often than not activate at the most inconvenient times. You'll only have an enemy or two left if you're lucky, then you're standing around like an asshole waiting for your episode to end. This could have been rectified if we had the option to hold onto our meter and press a button to activate it. I mean, look at this. I'm stun locked. Seriously, who play tested this? You can see there's a twinkle in somebody's eye that resembles the bones of a fruitful fighting system, but it falls short in overall feel and reliability. You're incentivized to play on the defense and whiff punish to victory, which clearly gets boring quick. Of course, you could use your claws, but then if you get hit, you'll need to wait 9 dynasties for that healing factor to catch up. your whole flow comes to a halt. By far the worst way to implement Logan's healing factor. Little thought went into this mechanic, and it's obvious. Even if we use the movie as a reference like the game claims to, it really doesn't take him long to recover at all. They should have taken notes. Though, I don't think this would be much of a problem if we had proper checkpoints. Yep, that's right. Similar to Enter the Matrix, there are no save spots, and your current level serves as the checkpoint to an overall act. So, once again, unless you love being unhappy, cheat codes are the best way to experience this game. All things considered, that's not to say the combat is absolutely terrible. It is actually kind of fun when you unlock all the combos and embrace the game's jank a bit. You can goof around with the guards and admire Logan's cool looking moves. In a surprising breath of fresh air, Wolverine's extensive knowledge of martial arts is shown off a bit here, which is pretty cool despite its stiffness.
I love karate.
In the comics, he knows just about every style, yet we mainly see him as a hack and slashing fiend. He can really kick some We'll need to talk about it eventually. Alright, look. This game has some spooky bits here and there. As a child, this game had some truly horrifying scenes that a little squirt shouldn't be looking at. Wendigo just being himself was nightmare-inducing. There's a slow 3-level build up to this battle, and the game works hard to get us all tense, then suddenly... Excuse me? Can someone please explain how this makes sense? I can still see you, sir. You're drunk, Logan. Come on, get out of the crack. And the Weapon X failures? Get out of here. Those things were the gamekeepers. Back in the day, I was paralyzed at this point. Just didn't want to fight them. I mean, look at them. As an adult, they're kind of goofy and slothy looking, you know, like what is that? A lot of this stuff is just silly now, but at the time, nope, fuck that. For some reason, Lady Deathstrike creeped me out a bit too. Maybe it was the fingernails or this thing that she calls her face. Seems to be having a bit of a bad hair day too. Alright, let's talk about the bosses. The cast of foes we run into on this journey are pretty cool. Aesthetically and more, Sabretooth, Magneto, and Lady Deathstrike are further deviations from the film, but we're already committed to this cartoonish Twilight Zone of an X-Men story, so at this point, that shouldn't be surprising. Boss battles can be the coolest part of the game if you know how to beat them or if you play with cheats. In my opinion, the most engaging and exciting boss battle is Wendigo. Your entrance is sick, you're just flipping around on all these falling platforms, doing some Matrix stuff, and hitting Wendigoon with a classic Bowser Buster. And Lady Deathstrike has to be a close runner-up. In terms of music, atmosphere, the stakes and all, I kinda like this fight. It's a simple final boss up until the end when it hits you with this low blow cheap shot lightning area where the camera and your own depth perception is the enemy. Magneto can go to hell. Sabretooth fights are interesting, but repetitive, and Juggernaut is just annoying. You have to run through a bunch of nonsense to get to him, so it's like an entire endurance level to test your patience. And that's the key word with beating Wolverine's Revenge: patience. You know, back in 2003, I never beat this game on my own because of that guy. I used to think you needed to save him due to the urgency and clear present danger. Couldn't do it. Turns out, this is optional, and all you have to do is crouch and hit the context-sensitive strike button, in this case, B. You don't save him, though. Shit. Well, a homicide and a suicide with no note. This game is interesting. There's no prequel, no sequel, it's kinda just there, pretending to be a movie tie-in. The ending hinted at a sequel where we face off against Apocalypse, Omega Red, Mr. Sinister, and Sabretooth again, effectively rendering Wolverine's Revenge an abandoned side franchise. I think the art aged pretty nicely. Glad they didn't go for that low poly realism. My rose-tinted glasses make this game more enjoyable than it really is. I mean, you heard what's up. Does this sound like something you really want to play? My nostalgia brings me back to this every so often, and with the Deadpool and Wolverine movie coming out soon, I got pretty excited to revisit this game after so long. Even with its imperfections, I love X2 Wolverine's Revenge for the hot mess it is. What's a clunky game that you adore? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and stay janky.